Hey guys, so I'm making this video. If you're a older person and you would like to start running, this one is a bit going against the grain of what the current YouTube and influencer media is talking about. So stick around. Basically, I'm going to share my experiences as a 5K and 10K runner. I've been running it for about 4 or 5 years. I'm 45 years old. My VO2 max is nothing special. It's probably around 40. And I'd like to share you an alternative view to the common mainstream YouTube influencer stuff. For example, that Zone 2 is the magic pill that cures everything, and the Norwegian 4x4 method is the method to train for your VO2 max, combining your Zone 2 and your Zone 5. And that's kind of all you need for your polarized training. Fair enough if you're that kind of athlete. I just like to offer an alternative view to that, where I like to say that every zone is important. Maybe some sources for you that will be interesting to follow that will be Steve Magness, this kind of philosophy where you train at every intensity possible. Right, so if you're like me, perhaps you're starting off running and you're like, yay, I need to start running, get into shape. Maybe it's summertime, maybe you have a goal in mind, maybe you want to join some friends. And you're like, yeah, let's get into this running. And first of all, congratulations. You picked an awesome hobby. You picked something that really gives you the breadth and the depth of something you can follow the rest of your life. So congratulations on picking running. If you like to pursue this and you're serious about it, then you'll get into this kind of YouTube situation where you run or you do something and you come back and you see some YouTube videos and you're like get inspired and you're like, oh wow, this is so cool. I can share this passion with fellow YouTubers and comment section. And it's like a positive effect on you. Unfortunately, you will also run into this Zone 2 thing where everyone talks about Zone 2. And I'm no expert. I have done some physiology at quite a high level university in conjunction with my master's degree, but I'm no way a sports physiologist or anything like that. So please consult your physician if you need to, yada, 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 all the typical kind of disclaimers apply here. I'm going to get right into it. I started running about 4 or 5 years ago, and I say 4 or 5 because I started, then I stopped, then, it was that kind of situation. And I started my duck waddle session, which is, if you're overweight like I am and kind of big boy and you're trying to run, you know what I'm saying. Like, you got to keep your heart rate within Zone 2, but it just spikes to Zone 4 within 5 minutes or 3 minutes of running. And you know what I'm talking about. Then you have to settle into this very awkward kind of shuffle where you're kind of running, but you're not really moving that fast, and you're kind of walking in a way, but you feel absolutely smashed after that session of Zone 2 training. I go like this because Zone 2 is supposed to be super relaxing. It's supposed to be like a walk in the park. It's supposed to be like, oh, I can talk, but you can talk while you do this, but your joints and your muscles are smashed after such a session. And this is something I experienced. I did this kind of training. I was very loyal to my training program. I was like, yes, I'm going to do Zone 2, whether it kills me or not, because I believe this is the truth. And this is where I feel like the influencers mislead you. So learn from my mistakes. You can get a 2-year head start from me. I'll tell you right now, Zone 2 is important, but so is Zone 3 and Zone 4. And I'll break it down for you. Zone 2 is important because the volume of training that you can get by Zone 2 is very high. But that only applies if you have a certain body type and certain body weight, and if maybe perhaps you're a bit younger. For us older folks, like I said, I'm 45, I'm a bit higher BMI, maybe I'm pre-diabetic, a bit high cholesterol and triglycerides. I have asthma, bronchitis since I was 5. Maybe Zone 2 for me is not very comfortable, actually. And to be honest with you, for a lot of us out there, maybe Zone 3 actually is, biomechanically speaking, for our muscles and our joints, like the actual act of running is more comfortable in Zone 3 and approaching Zone 4. Now, I'm not recommending that you do all your runs in Zone 3. That would be kind of tough to do because you'd accrue a lot of fatigue. So, in light of this, we have Zone 2. And it's a lot of people say you got to do 80% of your training in Zone 2 and 20%. Now, I'm not going to go into such detail because I feel like that's kind of overhyped and depends where you are in your training phase. Are you in the beginning? Are you close to race day? I will offer you this information though. I have some solutions for you. You can do the duck waddling, but that really sucks and it takes a lot of fatigue and it drains you mentally and physically to do that. So better than that is to do run walking. So you run for like, let's say a minute, and then you rest for like a minute. You go up a hill, you walk. If you go downhill or it's level, then you can just, run. That way you keep your heart rate more or less within the zone of zone 2, let's say around 135, 140. If that's, for me, that's the range. I will say it does cause some spikes, especially if you live in a hilly area like I do. So again, it's not a perfect solution, but maybe a better solution if you feel like your zone 2 duck waddle or shuffle is giving you a lot of fatigue, which is not the point at all. Run walk is a solution. Duck waddling you can do to a certain extent, but then if you're like me, you will accrue too much fatigue and you can't do that. Third one I have for you is cross training, and this is a really fantastic solution. It gives you the cardiovascular benefits without giving you the fatigue of the biomechanical stress of running at a zone 2 on asphalt, let's say for 45 minutes or 1 hour. Your joints will get beat up if you run the way I do. Just a regular Joe, like I said, overweight, not really an athlete of sorts. In that type of athlete, I mean, I did play some basketball in my younger days. I did do some swimming, but running, I was never that gifted or talented. So if you do cross training, and that can be cycling, it can be swimming, it can be doing anything other than running, that means low impact cardio at a lower heart rate. It's a fantastic way to flush out the system, all the lactic acid buildup. I've often been in times where I've done a long run in a zone 2, which is like hell for me because I did a 10K and the long run there is like 80 minutes in zone 2 where I'm run walking. It's brutal. It drains you mentally because you got to stop literally 30 or 40 times in your run. And I challenge any YouTube influencer person saying, I just run walk. You know how tough it is to stop yourself from running 40 times in one run? Anyway, so you do that. And then at the end of the run, you're like, wow, that was really not satisfying. That's one thing. But the other thing is that you're really tired after a long run. That's the nature of a long run, right? And you have to keep it within a low zone without going into specifics. Well, then go for a bike ride. You had a race day, go for a bike ride afterwards. I'm not saying you go right after, but if you eat something, you drink something, you rest like 3-4 hours, feeling good, go for a bike ride. Bike rides are a fantastic way for active recovery. Whenever I say bike ride, you can substitute it for swimming or whatever else you have as a low impact cardio thing, walking, hiking. Hiking, though, I would say going uphill and stuff is a bit tough. So for me, biking has been a fantastic way of kind of regenerating my body and doing the hard work of what the zone 2 run training was supposed to do actually. So I've taken all my zone 2 and I've about half of it, or even maybe like 2/3 of it, I'm just saying I'm going to convert that into bikes. Yep. I'm going to bike my way into a zone 2, reaping all the benefits for the mitochondria, the increased cardiac output, the better cardiovascular system, hopefully the better breathing, and generally the muscular and skeletal adaptations. Although it's not specific for running, you will get some benefits because you are working the legs, the core, the back, and a little bit of the arms and the chest. You'd be surprised, especially if you do like 1 hour of that. Then I have another solution for you, the fourth one, the final one. And for that, I'm going to go into a bit of a deep dive. So, as you all know, I talked about the long run. Normally, a training program consists of 2 easy runs, 1 long run, and an interval session, all within a week. Again, this is very generalized, and for you who that's starting, maybe you just have 1 run a week, and that's totally cool. Congratulations, because you're increasing your health, so that's awesome. So if you have a long run, normally, like I said, you're exhausted, but the problem with the long run is that you run into the zone 2 problem. Now, if you told me like, yeah, do your long run, go for zone 2, and then I'm like, okay, I'm training from a 10K, so my zone 2 is going to take me, the long run is going to take me 80 minutes. I would be like, wow, that's a bit of a long stretch, and I know I'll be exhausted. And if I do the run walk, I'll be frustrated mentally. But if I do the shuffle walk and keep myself within, let's say, 135 BPM, which is what I know my low zone 2 is, then I know that I'm going to feel like crap afterwards. So I'm sitting there struggling Not because of it's a hard thing to do as such, because I enjoy the long walk, a long run mentally, but because I don't know what to do in the long run, it gives you some kind of internal conflict, right? My solution was, and I'm not recommending this for everyone, but what I did was I started my long run, and that was in, let's say, in March. I did it, and I ran 8K, and I felt horrible. I'm like, I'm never going to be able to run a 10K. Sorry, that was in March, yeah. So I did it, and I ran it in some time, like 1.5 hours, 8K. It was just a horrible experience. It was not fun. The second time I did it in 126. I'm like, okay. And we're talking like weeks apart, because the way my training works is I don't feel good, I just skip a day. So sometimes my training gets delayed by days at a time. I'll touch more into this in another video. So I said, okay, I'll do my next long run. And then I did it 126. Did it one more time. It was 120. And shaving that much time off your long runs is pretty crazy. And you can probably figure out, I didn't do them in zone 2. And that almost feels illegal to say in this day and age with all the hype around zone 2 and the benefits that like it's a magic bullet, it's going to cure cancer, it's going to save the world, all these kind of crazy things. So what I did was I shifted my long run from just pure zone 2, and I still did around half an hour of zone 2, as much as I could mentally and physically handle, and then I just shifted to zone 3. So I found that I really like lactate threshold running. It just sits right in my body. The 5Ks I've done many years ago, and I ran a 5K of 32:30, and I also ran one with 31, something like that within that zone. Nothing particularly fantastic, but very satisfying for me personally. I found 5K a very uncomfortable kind of pace to be running at for my body type and my physiology. The 10K, you go a bit slower, but you're hovering around like below the lactate, then at the lactate, and then finally you're above the lactate, right? So you get to chill a little bit more, although 10K is brutal, let's be honest here, especially if you're a heavier boy like I am, and also a bit older. So yeah, I shifted to zone 3. Now what happens after a run if you're in zone 2 and zone 3? Well, I think it's pretty obvious. You fatigue yourself more because if you're at zone 3, you're demanding more of your body. So you will reap the benefits of zone 3. And zone 3 is fantastic. I love zone 3 personally because it's where I can reside around 158 BPM. I know my stride is comfortable. My running form is what I consider good. And I feel very comfortable at that pace. So I just let it rise. I saw my heart rate drift from 130 to 140 to 158, 160. Once it started reaching a higher kind of BPM, I only allowed it to spike at the end of the run because that's what happens on a race day. You'll be in zone 3, you'll be in zone 4. You will probably be in zone 2 for a very, very short time. And when I saw my race, which I did yesterday, I did the calling half, the 10K, I was in zone 2 for all about like 5 or 10 minutes, something ridiculously low, like just 5 minutes. I think it just shot up right away. I got it to calm down again. So just to say, like, the long run can be converted. And this is where I come to my fourth point. You can convert your zone 2 into a rest day. That means instead of doing all this duck shuffle walk and trying to figure out running or walking, just skip it. It's an active rest and recovery day. Replace it with cycling or go for a walk or do the lawn, mow the lawn. Pushing and pulling actually is really good for like your back and your legs and everything. And just skip that run. I did that. So I did my long run on a Sunday, which is, I think, quite common for a lot of us runners. It doesn't have to be, just fits that way. And then my Garmin said, oh, you have to run on zone 2 on a Tuesday. That's just the way it happens because Monday is very busy for me. I just skipped it. I ran on Wednesday or Thursday, or you take as many days as you need. And some people say, oh, but now you skipped out on zone 2 training, which you could have accrued that volume and all. So what? It's the same game, right? We're all trying to build towards the same goal. So whether you get it through zone 3 and 4 or you get it to zone 2, it doesn't matter. But it does matter in the context if you're a heavier runner, an older runner, and zone 2 for you is as brutal as zone 3 or 4. And I dare you to try and prove me wrong, because if you're running at zone 2 and your joints are getting smashed and your body's getting smashed, then why not just run in zone 3 and 4 and then just have more active rest days? Who says you have to run 4 times a week? Run 3 times a week. After three or 4 weeks of training, I know that 1 week I'll go down a bit plateau. I need a break. because, your joints, your tendons need time to recover. After 3 or 4 weeks of training, I know my body's going to go like in a plateau. So I just take that week off and do some very light jogging or recovery stuff, active recovery, and just chill basically. And then I feel great. And then I start resume my training. So those 4 things, like, yes, zone 2, you have to duck waddle. That you'll just have to accept, but limit it. Don't start to like put major time in that zone of duck walking. Run walk is a great solution physically, but mentally you accrue fatigue because you get so tired of starting and stopping. At least I do personally, and maybe some of you recognize that. Third solution, do some cross training on a bike or swimming or something where you're not impacting your body, and only you know that best. You know what will fit you the best way. When you do the exercise, you'll figure out, oh, this is really good for me. How do you know that? Because you'll feel better after you do that cross training than when you started. That's a great way of gauging it. That's the way I gauged it. And then lastly, convert your zone 2 into a rest day. For example, in conjunction with your long run, if you really hate being in zone 2 for a long time like I do, let yourself creep up, not the entire way, right? Just in the end. It's maybe a zone 3. And then take some more rest days off. See how it feels. Try it out for you. Maybe it works for you. Maybe it doesn't. Let me know. All right. That's all I have for you. Take care. Peace out.